Here's another big spending idea, Bruce. This one from Japan, which I suspect can probably afford it because it fought the virus without shutting its economy. Japan is so worried, Bruce, about China that it's going to pay $500 million in subsidies to just 57 Japanese companies to move their factories out of China. They don't even have to move them to Japan. If it's Burma or Myanmar, it'll be good enough. Just out of China to make Japan less dependent on that dictatorship. It's quite ominous, an assessment of what it needs to do. Is this something Australia should consider?
Well, actually, I think some businesses are actually moving out of China because they're finding it's more expensive to have their factories in that country than in other countries like Vietnam. So that is a trend that's actually already happening and has been happening for some time, I understand. But it does go, in the case of Japan, to a very, very deep-seated distrust of the Chinese and vice versa. It goes back a long, long time, centuries. And, we only have to touch on what happened in the Second World War to get a sense of the Chinese feelings about the Japanese. So I think we do have to be conscious that there's a fair bit of local and domestic politics in some of these announcements, which aren't so developed in Australia with regard to China as they certainly are with the Japanese and vice versa. But look, I think this is a vexed issue. I think don't know if I've got enough time really to be dealing with it, but we do need to accept that China is our largest trading partner, and we are at a time when we're looking for trading partners. So I'm always a bit uneasy when I see too much, pulling of the whiskers of the Chinese and then being surprised when they come back and slap us. Now, I know that most people don't actually endorse that view, certainly in your audience, but I think that's a real politic that we have to deal with when we're talking about China.
Now, I get your point, except, Corrine, China is actually slapping a lot of people under a lot of pretexts. It's certainly not just us. It's New Zealand, it's Japan, it's the Philippines, it's Vietnam, it's India, it's Britain, it's Sweden, it's Norway. You can go to America. You can go through the list. It's Canada. And it's 75 years since World War II. Japan was quite happy having businesses go to China. Something has changed, and Japan thinks this is now necessary. Should it be necessary for us to consider this?
Absolutely, 100% it should be. I've said the whole way through this coronavirus pandemic, China must suffer consequences for the way that they handled this outbreak at the beginning. They lied and people died, and they have to suffer consequences. And it's not enough to just shuffle all this now under the carpet. I understand, of course, yes, they are a great trading partner, but we've got to see them suffer consequences. We've got to somehow start trying, rather than just saying that we'll distance ourselves from China. We've actually got to start to dismantle those supply chains, and that's, I think, what the really important point is that they're trying to achieve here. That's going to take a lot of concerted effort. It's a commitment, and it's going to take money to start to unravel those supply chains and rebuild. It's really important that we don't just shovel it under the carpet.
Well, at least I think we'll be wanting to create more domestic supplies of things like medical equipment. We know now how dangerous it is to be reliant on China in that regard, or any foreign country really in a crisis like this. Bruce Hawker, always great to catch up with you. Same with you, Corrine Barraclough. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.